Hello, it is I again, Carla from Fun Schooling the Sensational Six, and I wanted to do this video because I have a lot of people ask. They say, we see how you do it. You explain to us, the different methods that you use and all the resources that you use. But what if I have been homeschooling, basically school at home, for years? How in the world do I transition from what it is that I'm doing now to where I want to be? And that answer can be different for different people. So I'm going to give you a couple different scenarios today to kind of explain that to you. But I'll start with telling you how it happened for us. And you may have heard our story in some of our previous videos. But originally, uh, we were very rigid school at homers, which means, we were like 5 workbooks a day. That's it. Nothing was hands on, nothing was fun, nothing was enjoyable. I hated it. My kids hated it. My husband hated hearing about it at the end of the day. It was pretty interesting. And we did that for 3 years. And it wasn't until I joined online communities and I saw all the possibilities of what homeschooling could be that my eyes were open. And I was like, wow, we have been missing out all this time. And so it has just been it was a rough road those first couple years. And what happened was we had a major life change, major life shift, where we decided to add to our family times three, and we brought home three more children. And what was a lot easier, very systematic, rigid approach to homeschooling with three children suddenly became almost impossible with six, the way that I was doing it. And I just prayed and I asked God for answers. I started reading a lot, watching a lot of videos, and trying to understand better ways of educating my children in ways that will be enjoyable for all of us and in ways that stuck. I felt like at the time they were reading workbooks and answering questions. There was no retention. They were simply reading the material to answer the questions, and we moved on to the next chapter and the next chapter and the next chapter. But if I was to ask them a month later about the process of, how a flower grows or anything that they actually read and answered questions to in a workbook, they would not be able to tell me. So I said, I really, really, really want to be able to approach learning in a more natural atmosphere. I want it to be enjoyable. I want it to be hands-on. And so I began to do a lot of reading and a lot of investigating. And that's when I happened upon unschooling. Now, I'll tell you in the very beginning, and you've heard my opinion about this before, in the very beginning, I thought unschoolers were absolutely nuts. Like, who are these people and what is going through their mind? And so most people know that we are not radical unschoolers, but unschooling still had this. It was so attractive to me because it was the polar opposite of what it is that we were doing, and I needed something different. So, and I am a drastic person. When I jump into something, I jump in head first. Everything, I don't take a dip slowly. I just jump in and deal with the transition. And so that's what we did. And as a result, we kind of at that time wanted to be more focused on meshing as a family of 8. We just having brought home 3 more children, instead of focusing on drilling facts and knowledge into 6 kids' brains, when we really didn't even have the chance to mold and to bond. So I won't say that we were forced into it, but other things were a priority at that time. And our children came home around March of 2013, and we just decided to stop all formal lessons at that time and to just live. And the amazing things that happened from that are what led us into unschooling, interest-led learning, things of that nature. So that's kind of how we fell into it. We fell into it on mistake, but the kinds of things that we saw happening were our children teaching themselves things and teaching each other things that we did not initiate. Um, And it just became this beautiful, beautiful picture of what a natural learning environment could be. And so it was our goal to begin to intentionally develop that kind of environment and to intentionally pursue this kind of learning for our children long term. So that's kind of how it happened for us. Some people, it may have happened the same way for them, but I want to talk about two different scenarios today that you may fit very well. You could have been a type AAA personality like me that felt like they had to control absolutely every aspect of their children's lives, which is crazy, and I am still a work in progress. But I kind of want to help you know where to go from where you are. If you are feeling like this is not working, this is dry, I hate it, my kids hate it, they're asking to go back to school, all kinds of things are going on in our home, and you really want them to enjoy learning, then there's two things that I would suggest. Scenario number one, stop. Just stop what you're doing. If it's not working, stop. Pause. Time out. Stop. Okay? Then communicate. Communicate with your spouse. Communicate with your children. Communicate with yourself. Be honest with yourself and decide what you want your learning environment in your homeschool to look like. Ask your children, what is their ideal learning environment? Ask your husband his advice. He's probably been observing and not necessarily sharing everything that he thinks about it. So ask those questions. Communicate. I would say number 3 would be to deschool yourself and your children. Sometimes if our children have been in public school, or if they've been in a very rigid, systematic homeschool environment for many years, it can be difficult to understand the transition to loosening up and trying new things. So it's important for you to deschool yourself. All the thoughts that you had about learning, the fact that learning had to take place at a certain time, on certain days, between this time and this time, on these particular days, during this time of the year, is absurd. If you watch your children, you will recognize that even if you do not initiate learning, they were born to learn. They were created to explore. And if we allow them to do that, we'd be amazed at what they learn on their own. And it doesn't mean that you're not there. You are a facilitator. You are there as a guide. But you would be amazed at what your children learn just by given the freedom to do so. So deschool yourself and all the thoughts that you have had about homeschooling or about learning that have caused you to be in a situation that you don't like. Okay? And then you have to help your children understand where you're going with your homeschool, what exactly it is that you're trying to accomplish, so that you'll all be on the same page. So deschooling, for those of you that do not know what that word means, it basically is a period of time that that you take where there's no type of school related activity at all. A lot of times it's for relationship building, it's for relaxation, it's for kind of like a mind shift, if you will, when it comes to schooling and learning, and a time to just decompress from the way that you've done things and prepare your heart and mind and your household and your environment for a new way of thinking, a new way of pursuing knowledge. So they usually say when it comes to deschooling, especially if your children are coming from a traditional public school, private school environment, they generally say that you should deschool for a month per year that a child has been in that learning environment. If you have always homeschooled, or if you've been homeschooling for a while and you're looking to change the way that you're doing things, I would say that deschooling is also important in that scenario, that you deschool for a period of time. The time period is really up to you, how long you feel it will take for you to kind of get back in the saddle and regroup, so to speak. Only you can decide that, and you can determine that, when your children are ready to really kind of flip the script and change directions. So again, when it comes to interest-led learning or loosening up, because everyone may not be ready to just jump full-fledged into interest-led learning, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But if you're ready to just make a drastic change, then this is the scenario that I'm talking about. After deschooling yourself, you have to consider the fact that interest-led learning or unschooling is a lifestyle. It is not a teaching method, and really most people would argue that it's not even a type of homeschooling, that it is literally a lifestyle of learning, that every single life opportunity brings a learning opportunity. And so you kind of have to look at it like that, and that's when you break down the days and the times of year and the blocks of time that are set aside for learning versus play versus summer versus that all day, every day, 365 days a year, there's an opportunity to learn and to explore and to investigate new concepts, new things, new strategies, new ways of thinking. So it's important to look at it more like that, that it's not necessarily a teaching style as much as it is a lifestyle. And there are learning opportunities all day, every day. And it's very important when thinking about this, and this is for any scenario, when you're looking to loosen up in what it is that you do, to loosen the reins and take your hands off a large part of your day so that your kids can have more freedom to explore things that they're interested in. It's important to create an environment of learning, that your household overall is an environment that encourages learning and exploration. And that can be through resources, that can be from your own encouragement, but just that your children are free and feel that freedom to be able to explore new things without boundaries. And so that's the first scenario. If you're just like, I am ready to just cold turkey, cut all this off and jump into interest-led learning, then those are the steps that I would suggest you go through. Now, then there is a different scenario that I will bring up, and there are a lot of people that I know that are in this scenario, and I get it. I totally get it. So this may be you. If you are feeling, oh my God, I just can't let go like that, and you don't understand how I'm made up, Carla, you just don't get it. I do get it. And so that's why I'm mentioning this, because there are a lot of people in that situation where you may feel, I can't let go of everything just like that. I'm not cut from that cloth. I need to be able to have some control over some things. I do get that. What I would suggest is that you slowly begin to free up more and more time for your children to have spontaneous learning opportunities and explore. So for instance, if you have a non-negotiable of math and you're like, I can't give up math. I get the whole interest learning math through life kind of thing. I understand it, but Carla, I'm not buying it. We still need to be doing math. If that's your prerogative, if that's what you want to do. So choose other areas in which your children can have more autonomy and more choices and more say in what their day includes, what things they're going to study, how they're going to study it. For instance, if you are stuck on they are going to write essays, one essay a week on this many pages, is it possible that they can choose what those topics are and how they go about studying and researching those topics? Is it possible that they can choose what kind of science that they decide to study and how they decide to study it? Is it an online class? It is a class at a community organization? Is it a hands-on curriculum? Do you have a child that prefers curriculum? Is it simply just trying things in a more natural learning environment? So the point is that slowly but surely loosen the reins in different areas in which you're willing to allow your child to pursue their interest in that area. For instance, history and geography. What is it that they want to study about history? Okay, they may hate ancient history, but they may love wars. Can they study every single war that they find interesting? So just things of that nature. If you're not a jump in head first and stop everything you're doing kind of girl or guy, then maybe it's important that you try to slowly incorporate more and more free time in your children's schedule or routine for them to be able to have decision-making reign over the things that they study and they explore and enjoy. So I hope that this video was a blessing to you. I just wanted to be able to tape this because a lot of people ask me, okay, you show me what you do, but how do I go from where I am to where I want to be? Well, those are the two scenarios. Head first, jump in, or slowly add in more time as you go until you are comfortable with the level of freedom that your children have to explore. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to inbox me on Facebook, message me on Instagram, or you can put the questions in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you and help you with any ideas or strategies that you need to move forward in this area. Interest-led learning, unschooling, world schooling, child-led learning, hands-on learning, all of the descriptions that people use for this type of learning environment or lifestyle have been a great blessing to our lives. And I cannot imagine anything different for my family. So I'm hoping that this video was a blessing to you and that maybe you could see yourself in either one of those scenarios and that this may have been able to help you kind of push out of that box and move toward what you really want for your homeschool. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.